Welcome to Cash Talk, the podcast where we delve into the depths of finance, business, and life itself. I'm your host, John Cachia, a multi-award winning wealth advisor with a passion for empowering ambitious Australians to confidently achieve financial freedom. Hey everyone, before we get started, this is a quick reminder that everything in this podcast is of a general nature and nothing has been tailored to your personal circumstances. So please seek personal financial advice before acting on this information. Welcome back to Cash Talk, and today I'm joined by Aitan. Aitan, how are you?
I'm well, John. How are you?
I'm not bad. I'm not bad at all. Today we're going to get very deep into a story that I had with someone on an aeroplane last year that not only affected me, but reached millions of people across the internet when I shared his story. And it was a story that is actually quite common, but I don't really express a lot. So today I want to get deep into that and some other stories that have really touched me. I'm sure that have touched Aitan as well too, but also will give you some insights in regards to what people are living through and how they can make some significant transformations in their life. And so, Aitan, I might get straight into it because I was on an aeroplane last year while I was traveling, and it was me next to a gentleman and my family across from me. So it was my wife and the two boys on either side and the baby at that point on her. And I just got into conversation with the gentleman next to me, as everyone can imagine I do. But he was with his, I think, second or third wife, and she was sleeping. And so it was interesting. You know, you had this gentleman who was talking to me openly. I think he was in his 70s, if I remember right. And he's got his wife and I've got my children. And how the conversation actually first started was, it was actually him. And he was looking at my family and just saying, like, he looked over and I think he said something like, you know, you're just so blessed. And I do think I'm extremely blessed. I mean, blessed in, you know, just having beautiful, healthy children. I'm blessed that I've got an amazing wife that supports me. But one of the things I think he was really reflecting was on his own life, because it made him reflect on maybe not the mistakes, but maybe what he would have done better. And in that conversation, he was speaking to me about how he doesn't see any of his children and how blessed I am to have them so close. And it's something that I know is very important for you. And I know that it's very important to a lot of our parents and family to be close to their children as much as possible. But to hear a person whose first marriage he had children with, at that point in time, it was probably this time last year actually, it was around Easter time, and him not sharing Easter with his children, to the point where he said to me, I don't even know where they are. They don't even know where I am, and they're totally disconnected from me. And this was a gentleman that, not to say that what they wear, you can't judge a book by its cover, but it didn't look like a person that was short of $1, okay? So he was also if I remember right, he was a doctor, okay, or it was in the medical field. And so he was from America as well too. So, you know, American doctor wearing, I don't want to assume, I didn't kind of exactly ask him what his bank balance was looking like, but this was a guy that was obviously actively traveling. So put two and two together, I think this was someone that was obviously quite affluent, but yet he was yearning for something that, not that money can't buy, but the difference between you having 20 million and you having 200,000 doesn't really dictate the blessings that I have in that moment. And so this was a person that is approaching the later years of his life, really feeling, yes, he won the money game, but he was losing a life. And every experience that I have, everyone that I talk to, I try to actively listen. And I use the word trying because I'm not perfect, no one is. But especially from people that are older than myself who have got years of experience, I do like to try and listen to them as much as I can and really get deep into understanding them. And it really resonated with something that I heard from actually a Carlton footballer at high school was, one of the things he never wanted to live by was thinking, what if?
Mm.
And I've lived by that since I was in my teenage years. I don't want to think what if. I don't want to think what if. But this is a guy now in his 70s thinking about what if? What if I played with my kids a little bit more? What if I had that interaction with them a little bit more? What happens if I didn't work so much? And for me, that would be pretty scary, pretty sad, thinking you've got all the money in the world, but you don't have the presence of the people you love. And I know you saw that reel that got shared and was viewed over 8.2 million, I think it ended up getting to. It was pretty crazy. When you saw that and you now hear this story, it's one, I'm guessing that's not uncommon and it's not shocking, but it is a truth, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a boomer mentality, right? Because obviously you're coming out of the war, all you want is that stability. And to get that stability, that means, have the house, work hard for the house, provide for the family. You don't have a lot of time because all you're doing is working and trying to provide for that family. So we've got a generation of people who are focused on building wealth and building stability. And then that kind of flows through to the next generation because that's what they see their parents do. And that flows to the next generation. But I think there is now a deviation from there because now we can say, well, we don't want to spend all our time working because we want to spend time with our family. I saw it from my mum. She worked 2 jobs to provide that stability. And yes, she was a young mum, so I can spend time with her now. But I know that there are other parents out there who may not be here now because they've worked so hard. Unfortunately, something's happened and, they've passed away, whatever it is. They haven't had that time thereafter to spend with them. So I think that there is a shift here.
Do you think it's generational, as in, for example, is it baby boomer, is it war babies, or is it a factor of there's a fundamental urge that when you need to get going, you get going for the people that you love. And in the form of that is the form of sacrifice. And so, with love is sacrifice. And what I mean by that is your mum worked 2 jobs, not because I believe that she's part of a generation. She worked 2 jobs because she loves you.
Yeah, of course.
And her form of love is the form of, hey, I need to put food on the table.
Yeah.
I need to make sure that the lights are on. So therefore, I need to work. Cool. So when you think about that level of sacrifice, it's not that you sit there and resent your parents. I don't resent my parents. I don't resent my grandparents. I'm so thankful for the blessings to set up the foundations that the next generation has. However, as life has become more harder as time, and I'm not talking about hardness in regards to war and stuff like that. That is atrocious. That's the worst form of, living and, that kind of stuff. But what I'm more talking about is as it becomes financially harder for people to survive, we understand what's going on in cost of living. We understand the pressures in regards to debts, blah, 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 blah. People are now being forced to return back to the ways that they once saw. So what we're now seeing is this trap. The trap around, hey, yes, I do want to spend time with my children, but that means that I need to work more. And once I work more, I now no longer see my children. So there's this kind of we're going back to, I believe, this. And this is what a lack of economic prosperity in a country actually does. Yeah, because the more prosperous you are, the more freedoms you have. And one of the freedoms you have is time, which ends up coming, which we'll speak about in a moment to build up to that point. But I think, Aiton, there's this factor of also, once you do work, get yourself out of that scarcity, get yourself out of the basic level of financial security, you then have momentum and you have a habitual nature that no different. And I can see myself doing this.
Yeah.
I walked in today and seeing Aiton and I'm like, oh, I was up till 1 a.m. last night.
Mm.
Yes, I had dinner with the family. Yes, I kissed the boys goodnight. They went to sleep. I went back to work because I had this project that I couldn't get out of my head and I needed to get done. However, they're on school holidays. Really, in reflection, it would have been nice to maybe spend an hour before they went to bed, maybe watched one of their shows with them. So today I made a conscious decision this morning to not come in super early to work like I normally do, and to just be there in their presence while they were building their forts, the two older ones for the little one.
Yeah.
So there's two things. It's around that level of providing and that scarcity is something that's, one, yes, generational, as in it passes through generations in regards to that's the way my father did it, that's the way my grandfather did it. Therefore, the only way I know to provide for my family is in the form of sacrificing myself for them.
Yep.
But I think the second one is around it can become habitual. It can become something that you do every single day, not realizing that you're trading your time with the ones you love, not doing the things you love to do for the sake of money.
Yeah. And I think that's probably the point that needs to be discussed a bit more, because once you were talking about before, I'll just keep working, and when I get to a point where I'm comfortable, then I'll slow down. But that point never comes, because what happens is that you're working, you're building the money, you're paying off your debt, whatever it is. And you're just looking at numbers and you're going, oh, if I just get to this, and then the bar keeps moving. If I just get to this, if I just get to this.
You've gamified it. You've gamified the process in your head. And people who chase money will continue to change it. Like chase it. They won't change.
Yeah.
And I definitely 100% agree. Aiton, if I talk to your 18-year-old self and I said, how much in assets would you need? You would have said, I don't know, I don't need $1 million, say. The 28-year-old self of Aiton says, $1 million. I'm taking inflation into consideration here, but it has to be 4 million now.
Yeah.
38-year-old Aiton says, now that needs to be 10 million.
Yeah.
Well, yes, all right, we can't take inflation into that, and maybe the 1 million that was originally down needs to be 2 million within that 20 years. But what's actually happened is that you've also increased the lifestyle that you believe needs to happen. You believe that the standard in which your family needs to be operating in to be secure is at a totally different level. You've now started to game up the levels in regards to what your security looks like.
Yeah.
So I think when you go back to the man on the plane, what did he lose? What did he lose for chasing money?
Well, he lost time with his family and that connection. Because if you don't have that connection, it's obvious that in the future, you're not going to be able to build that connection. You can't build a connection with someone who's in their 30s. It's very difficult. That connection comes from the early ages when you're there for your children, you're spending time with them, you're providing not the money security, but the love security. They know that you're always going to be there. If you're just a person who comes and goes and just gives them money or, provides for them, it's not the same as being there and sharing that, that win or that loss or that disappointment. I think that's where the monetary doesn't come in.
So there's probably a lot of people that are also saying, hey, yeah, that's all good and well, but we just need to survive. What do you say to those people that are saying, hey, listen, yeah, I get it. I love my children. I love my wife. I love my husband, and I really do want to do the things I love because I know that I'm never going to get them again. What do you say to those people?
I think my first question to people is, well, how much is enough? In your mind, what does that look like? Because people often come and they say, well, I just want to make a lot of money. Well, yeah, that's great. But what's that money going to do for you? What are our goals? What are we trying to achieve here? Because if we don't have those goals in place, then you could have like this guy, he could probably have $10 million in the bank, no issues, got income until his, probably, exceeds 100. But if you're not living today, at the end of the day, that $10 million, it doesn't mean anything. You need to have the purpose. And I think when they come to thriving wealth, and one of the things that you do so well, and I've talked about this before, is creating that purpose and ensuring that the money works for you in a way that makes you fulfilled, as opposed to you just constantly just chasing the money and you're feeling unfulfilled.
She does a good job too, yeah. It's interesting, Aiton. I think, yes, they need to understand the money number. They need to understand how much enough is enough.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'd go even further and deeper to say, how will you judge your life?
Mm.
Okay, how would you judge it? Like when I look at 80-year-old me, and we're doing a Cash Talk podcast 8,000 by that point, how would I judge my life? How would you judge your life? Well, while I'm thinking, just everyone who's watching and listening, how would you judge your life? Because for me personally, it's not the amount of investment properties that I've got. It's not the share portfolio. It's not the suburb I lived in.
Mm-hmm.
For me, what's the relationship I've got with my wife and my children? Do they want to hang out? Are we having barbecues on a Sunday as a family with my grandchildren, hopefully?
Yeah.
Do they want to call me? Are they stressed? Am I stressed? Like, am I worried about the electricity bill getting paid? They're pretty basic necessities.
Yeah.
Am I able to, or was I able to be there in the moments that matter?
Mm-hmm.
What is the moments that matter to me? Was I able to attend my son's graduation? Did I miss my children's birthday parties? When my grandchild was born, was I able to go to my son's house to just help them prepare for when they come home so that they don't need to stress?
Yeah.
Was I able to be there? So for me, has got a lot to do with spending time with the people I love, doing the things I love doing.
Yeah.
And mine is very family first.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't mean that yours needs to be, and yours, Aiton. If you're judging your life and you're reflecting, what would you be saying to yourself?
I echo all the things that you say. And for me, it's maybe even simpler. Was I able to sit at the dinner table every night and have dinner with my family and just talk about the day, just basic things like that? Help with homework. Was I able to go to school and have go to a school assembly and drop my children off at school and pick them up? It's like the real basic things like that, because they're the for me in my household, that's where I'm building those connections with the kids. Like on the way to school, when I drop my daughter off at school, she's, teach me something. And they're like, Mum, teach me something. What can you teach me about today? Like we talk about all sorts of things. So she wants that connection and that learning, and I'm able to give it to her because I'm spending time with her, even if it's just dropping her off at school. So yeah, the little things.
Yeah, and I definitely agree. And one of the things that I like people to do, and this is an exercise that everyone can go off and do, is just search on Google the Wheel of Life. Make sure you do this. The wheel identifies different areas of your life and you rate them out of 10. For example, family connection, friends connection, health, spirituality, and focus your energy on how can you improve in the areas that matter to you. See, money is just one.
Mm-hmm.
but it's a pretty important one. And that's why I'm so passionate about doing what we do, because it's not about building a epic portfolio where you have 40 million, 50 million,
Mm.
60 million. Yeah, that's great. But it's about building a life that you absolutely love. And so this person that was sitting to me on the airplane, when he said, "You're truly blessed," he didn't see the 20 plus years of building
Mm-hmm.
to be present.
Yeah.
So it does take time for those people that are saying, "Hey, yeah, but how do I get myself from struggle street to wherever?" Well, first and foremost, you need to understand what's enough. You also need to really understand what makes you truly fulfilled. And the way to do that is push yourself into the future and think, what does that life look like? What does success look like? And what really matters to you? Because if you're just pointing your money to things that make other people happy, if you're just pointing your money to the bag that someone else has got and I need that, and because other people are going on extravagant holidays that I need to go on extravagant holidays, who are you really making happy? And are you really loving your life? And if you're sitting there and going, geez, I've been doing that for too long and I feel miserable, well, maybe that's the point in which you need to change.
Mm.
Because I know, and I see it all the time, and I'm so grateful for the clients that we have and the testimonies they have for what we do. They love their life. At the start, don't get me
Mm.
wrong, the first 12 months, first 2 years, first 3 years, they see it slowly building, but they don't see the seeds come out. By year 3, year 4, year 5, they're loving their life.
Mm.
I have a lot of our clients on social media, a lot of them, and I've been very blessed to be a part of building their financial future and seeing them spending time with the people they love, doing the things that they love doing. It's truly a blessing
Mm.
because I love doing that for people, but more importantly, for me, this was an idea that festered years ago that's actually really working.
Yeah.
And take that even further, even in regards to thriving wealth internally, because this is the way that I live and breathe it. My staff, the level of happiness, we do a happiness exercise to measure the happiness of the organization. And it might sound like fluff to you, but it's actually very important. And if you're a business owner and thinking about this logically, the happier your staff are, the more productive they are as well too, okay? But more importantly, thriving whilst happiness is off the charts in comparison to not just financial services businesses, but just entirely in regards to businesses in entirety. We score about a 7 out of 10 in regards to our happiness quotient. Financial services business out of just as a benchmarking is about a 4 out of 10. So, but why? Aiton's able to drop her kids off. She's able to have dinner with her children. She's able to have certain flexibility around the people who she loves, because I know that that person, if they're doing this each and every day, work is a part of Aiton's fulfillment. It's actually a part of her loving her life. And you see that. You see the energy internally, and then obviously that exuberates to everyone else, doesn't it?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of people who just do their job because they need the money,
Mm.
and they're in a toxic environment and they're unhappy, but they are stuck. I don't feel that. And I'm very fortunate because I have felt that in the past. But those little things, like being able to have that flexibility, and that's not to say that I don't work long hours, but I work around the flexibility that I want to have, which is very important to me.
Yeah, definitely not just choosing your own times, as in those are not working to what needs to be done. And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
The whole point is around, like, I always used to get told, try and live a balanced life. And my business coach said to me, or my mentor really said to me, like, John, forget balance. There's nothing balanced in this world. You've got to blend it. And unless you learn how to blend it, as soon as I started really emphasizing the blending, my life got better. Everyone around me got better. And so we've got to also take a step back for a second around the man on the plane. This is something, Aiton, that we often see in just everyday life with others, don't you?
Mm.
For example, and where I'm getting at with this is around, I constantly see people talking about needing more money. When people come to see you, do you find the chase for money similar to what you see with the person, or do they open up? Are they not having these conversations? Like, what I'm trying to get at is around, like, this guy was very vulnerable in openly sharing. Are you experiencing these conversations, or are these conversations the conversations that people are having by themselves? Are these the ones that are happening behind closed doors? What's happening here?
I think there's a combination, but often people aren't even having these conversations because they're so in the moment. They're the whole chase. I see a lot of clients that come to us and they just don't know what the possibilities are. They don't know what they're aiming for. They want a big number, but they don't know what that number is, and they don't know how to achieve it because they're just stuck in the moment, either going on holidays, working hard, paying off the mortgage, cost of living rising. So there's a whole list of things they're trying to work through, and they can't see that past that point. And it's hard for them to even see 5 years with what's happening recently, let alone in their 70s.
Yeah, it's interesting because I see this all the time, okay? People not having the conversation. But once they speak to me, obviously the conversation comes out very quickly.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of two that just were very recent. So later on today, I'm actually seeing a lady, okay? And she sold a property. Property got sold for 2.4 million. They've got no debt. They're in a pretty good position. However, the goal that she came to see us with was, I need $250,000 a year to live. Where did that number come from? And when I asked her in previous conversations around where that number came from, she literally said, I just plucked it out of my head.
Just random.
Just random. So when we talk about knowing the number, going back to yours, let's assume she doesn't have a plan. Let's assume we don't go down that exercise. If she doesn't see 250,000 on an imaginary number that she's created, she's 52. She probably needs to be working for a hell of a lot longer to make that achievable, if it isn't even achievable at all, based on not putting some measures in play. Now, people might be going, oh, John, but she's got 2 million, blah, blah. Yeah, she sold the property. There's a pretty big capital gains tax that she needs to pay. Also, outside of that, they haven't really built up a lot of other assets outside. So to get to $250,000 passively, she needs to get up to about 5 million of money outside of the home. We'll get her there, but it's going to take a little bit of effort. Yeah. But do you know how much effort she needs to do, and does she really want it? Now, when we did the exercise of actually understanding how much she needs to spend time with the people she loves doing, the things she loves doing, this is what it meant to her. It meant her $250,000 was literally imaginary. Okay, she needs about $110,000 a year for her to be able to do everything she needs to. $110,000. Go on the holiday she needs to, live the life that she's got now with a little bit of more luxuries. So 110,000. It also means that she can retire and her husband can retire, not at 66 or 65 or whatever, in the next 2 years. So she's bought how much time? Now also, one of her goals was, I want to buy a holiday home so that I can spend more time with my 2 daughters. So is she chasing the 250 or is she chasing the time?
Mm.
Aiton, which one is she chasing?
Yeah, it sounds like she's chasing time, isn't she?
Cool. So the imaginary number is causing them to work more, to effort more, to in the sacrifice of. So there's one. Simply, and when I had the conversation with her, no clue about any of this. She didn't even have the hot conversation. Her husband works in banking, like literally in the banking, in the finance industry, and has not had this conversation. Number one. Number two, speaking to a potential client about 3 or 4 weeks ago. They're worth 13.1 million. More money than they can poke a stick at. I asked a simple question. What do you want? We don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Why are you working? Why are you working? Oh, we love our jobs. Okay, cool. I know I love what I do, so I'll keep working. That's fine, cool. All right, so why are you coming to see me? What are we trying to achieve here? We don't know. Now, these people were in their late 50s. They've worked they got habitual, remember? They're gamifying the number. But they don't know. They don't know why they're doing it all for. Now, this is very important because if they don't know what they're doing it all for, where does the fulfillment come from? Where is it just adding the numbers on the balance sheet? Well, not just in regards to what me and Aiton said. If you go have a look at some white papers and some research in regards to this by actually people, academia, chasing the number doesn't create more fulfillment. Now, John, where are we going with all of this? That 13.1 million, extrapolate that for the next 20, 30 years, 40, 50 billion dollars. But they're now much older. They're looking at their life going, you know what? Yeah, we've got 50 million. That's great. But have we actually done what we wanted to do in our life? Have we actually provided for our kids in the way that we've wanted to provide for? Have we actually done what is purposeful to us? Now, some people say, hey, yeah, John, we can't plan everything. And you can't. But what you can do is you can live in the moments. See, happiness comes by living in the moments. I used to think that happiness was a form of completion. You needed to work up levels to then become happy. Like a change in your identity to get to that happiness level.
Yeah.
But it's no, happiness is living in those moments that truly make you happy. You know, the happiness that I have that I see a friend and I can give them a hug and, you know, those moments is what happiness is. And so to both of those clients, were they focused on chasing happiness? Were they focused on spending time doing what they love doing? And the answer is no, because they simply don't know what they don't know. They don't know. So if they don't know, they just wake up in the morning, go back to work, trade time for money.
And then it causes a fear when you kind of get to that retirement, because then you think, well, I've worked all my life. I've spent so much time doing this. What am I going to do now? How is that transition going to happen? What would I do with 7 hours of my day?
And it probably goes, Aiton, in regards to people need to spend a lot of time understanding themselves. And I think we externalize so much in what we think we should look like. We actually don't step back enough and just say, hey, no. What do I want? What do we want? You know, as potential, you know, like as a couple, what do we want? And then what do we want for our children in that case? Like we don't focus the love on ourselves. You know, we talk about like to love someone else first, you need to love yourself.
Yeah.
And people sometimes think I'm a wacko in regards to this stuff, but the reality is that loving yourself and understanding that is what's going to truly make you happy and more fulfilled. And if you love yourself, you can then love others, yeah? So then how does that replicate into the people that matter the most to you? well, they're going to be loved more. And guess what? Then they're going to portray love. And then all of a sudden, we've got this positive energy that's coming across the board.
Yeah.
Now, I do think we're going to see a lot more people miserable, because unfortunately, we're talking about people who hopefully this podcast is getting through to, Thriving Wealth is getting through to, but I really need people to jump on the bandwagon at a much, much bigger level. I am so glad that reel reached 8.2 million people, because hopefully it gave them a small moment to understand you're not chasing money. Money is simply the vehicle to enable you to get to the life that you absolutely love. And if you're not using it as that vehicle, you're pointing it in a direction that's going to make you unfulfilled and miserable. And will you judge your life on the zeros that are in your bank account, or on the absolutely epic life that you have absolutely loved with the people that you've loved doing it with? And for me and for you, Aitan, and I'm sure for a lot of people watching and listening, I'm sure that's the way you will judge your life as well too. Aitan, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone, hopefully enjoying these episodes. Make sure you like and subscribe on all major platforms and share them to your friends and family as well. Until next time, thank you.